Shomitra Saab,
Sure. Just give me 2
share
minutes.
with him on Zoom
In the meanwhile,
Actually, we are live.
Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I am Dina Mehta, your host for the day, and I hope all our viewers enjoyed the day one sessions of the TV Brand Fest 2021 on the power of television in times of disruption and using television plus digital strategy. And now I welcome you all to day two of IndianTelevision.com's TV Brand Fest 2021. Before we move forward, we request you all to kindly check the agenda for the day on TV Brand Fest 2021 website and check out the sessions planned out at the summit. We encourage all our viewers to share the questions for the speakers in the comment section and the events chat box, and we are glad to have almost 150 plus attendees at our events portal. You can also share your perspective on the day's proceedings through your social media accounts. Don't forget to use the hashtag TVBrandFest 2021 in your post and tag our official handles. We can be found at ITV News with a Z on Twitter and Facebook, and IndianTelevision.com on Instagram and LinkedIn. None of this would have been possible without the tremendous support of our co-powered by partner, Disney Star TV Network. This event is produced and executed by ITV 2.0 Productions. Now let's have a look at our partners AV.
Beautiful.
आयरेनच्या घरात लापशाखून आहेस तू.
सून म्हणून घरात येतो आणि सगळ्यांची आई होऊन बसतो.
आमचं लक्ष आहेच, मात्र तुम्ही दुर्लक्ष करू नका.
जोडं छान दिसतोय ना? होय होय. I love you, Jaydeep. I love you.
उस्ताद उस्ताद नाही, छोटे उस्ताद.
Now, without much further ado, we start with our session for the day on accelerating growth for marketers. And for this session, I would like to introduce a distinguished set of panelists, Mr. Kunal Bhardwaj, Senior Director Marketing Upstocks, Mr. Akhil Jain, GM Marketing Communications Matrimony.com Limited, Mr. Amit Sethia, Head of Marketing Ciscos Group, Mr. Anupam Tripathi, Media Head, Lenskarts. This session will be moderated by Mr. Monish Dange, Partner and Leader Consulting Markets, Ernst & Young. We welcome you all and over to you, sir.
Thank you, and absolutely fantastic to have this August panel here. On this afternoon, maybe we can just look at what kind of joy that marketing has really brought to the growth of some incredible companies. And I'm so very delighted to have such a wonderful panel out here with me. Maybe I just want to sort of get the ball rolling over here with a first question to my fellow panelist, Anupam. I think Lenskart has really been a fantastic story over here. And Anupam, I just wanted to sort of ask you, saying that with Lenskart, how has been the transition, if you will, especially for a D2C brand? How has there been a transition to a house of brands kind of a model? And what are the real drivers that you're seeing as you evolve into a model like this?
Hey, Manoj. Hi, everybody. Thanks for the question. So, I think it's a very simple question, and all other panelists will also agree. As a consumer, you don't just buy a product, you buy a brand. Now, there are multiple benefits of, for any brand which is handling or, they're offering multiple range of products. One, a very basic way of inorganic growth is that, it gives you geographical expansion, not only in India, across. And we have seen a lot of examples where a lot of brands have done that, and that has proved well. It's a quick and effective way that has worked. Secondly, it gives you the entire spectrum of consumers. Now, every brand or every product that you market today, with whatever media, there's a certain TG. And in today's world, with digital coming in and, things are evolving so much, it's not only demo. A lot of behavioral and thought process of the consumer on which brand or which product from a certain kitty he relates to. Like for example, at Lenskart, we have our Lenskart brand, which is a home brand, where it started with a vision of providing vision to around 1 billion plus people across the world, so that they can see the beautiful world that is. Then there is Aquacolor, then there's JJ, which is a premium offering, and with the entire control on the products from production to the consumer, it gives you, it actually eradicates the middleman, which actually saves a lot of cost, and hence you can give the value for money to the consumers. So a premium quality at a right price point. And there are others, you can actually optimize, because, so for example, if you're listing a product on Amazon, you don't really list your brand, you list a product or one product from the brand. And again, you're covering the entire consumer spectrum across geographies, reaching out to every, demo or every target group that's possible in your product category. So I think that's how, we have thought about it. And it's not a one day thing. This is like year-long strategy thought of, and, that's how we're here.
And I'm so glad that it's paying off. So fantastic. I mean, I like this thing you said, Anupam, about, you're not listing a brand, you're listing a product. And that is sort of the platform on which most of these strategies get built. I will talk more about that. Akhil, over to you. Probably your market size available, at least I don't fit into that, market, but there's a whole lot of Indians really looking up your site. And the first thing I'd like to, pick your brains on is you recently launched the Tamil version of your site. So I just wanted to look at your views on what's been your marketing experience on taking your business vernacular, and what has been the approach? How has, matrimony.com benefited, as well as what has been the select set of advantages that your consumer base has gotten on account of this approach?
Yeah, hi Manish. So if you look at under matrimony.com, till now we had our services based on the languages what a consumer speak. Like we had Tamil matrimony, we had Marathi matrimony. So people whose mother tongue is of certain this thing like Tamil or Marathi, we have a service for that. But if you look at our app, was completely in English. They have to operate the entire thing in English. The reason being is that internet penetration in India was limited to certain segment of the population, largely to the urban, your English speaker, at least basic level of English who knows, middle and higher income level group and all of that. But as we all know, last 5-6 years, internet penetration has grown exponentially. It has reached the lower strata of the audiences, the rural areas. People who doesn't know, that have not gone to a proper schooling also. So even those people have started using your internet. Internet has reached that, and this penetration has also resulted in huge surge of your vernacular users. So a lot of people started using a mobile for viewing content or maybe reading content in vernacular languages. And if you know like nearly 40 million users in India who are on internet are actually like between 2015 to 2018. Everyone, all those 40 million users were actually a language users. And even the recent Google report have suggested that out of 10 new users who coming to internet, 9 are vernacular users. So internet is actually reaching those audiences. Now, this has enabled, if you look at matchmaking category, the adoption in last few years has been really good, but not to the extent of other digital services, not in the same category, but in other categories. So when we researched it, why we are not been growing, so what we have learned is that there was a biggest barrier of languages was coming. Like if someone comes on our platform, they could not understand how to fill that form, and there were too many features which actually become complexity for them. The features which were good for the urban audiences were actually complex for them. They wanted a very simple product at lower cost and in their languages. So that's how this the whole research and whole understanding of the market resulted in launching this new app, which is called Jodi. Basically, this empowers the common people, the lower strata of this thing, in finding their life partner. See, this is a very important decision, right? Like if you look at this category of people, actually need online matchmaking much more than your urban, because they are less connected, they have less resources. And especially if you look at the women, we are empowering women by giving them choices, because this category women has very limited options. They just go with whatever, like few options they get, they like, doesn't like, still they have to go with it. But with this platform, they have a larger choices to select their life partner. So if you look at our overall learning is that if you can break this the barrier of language, then you will see a tremendous success. In Jodi, we have seen that. We have just launched a month back, but we have seen huge, like we have seen 2-3x more than what we were expecting. I can't hear you, Monish.
Monish, you're on mute.
Yeah, I'm back. So thank you, Akhil. And I was saying that that's such an excellent case study of having to replicate an urban success using a formula of simplicity and taking it to the masses. I mean, it's an incredible story out there. Thank you so much for that. Amit, moving on to you. My earliest recollection of Cisco is, an audio cassette, right? And I must say, what an incredible journey it has been for your company. And shall I say, from audio cassettes to being electronics giant. Obviously, there has been a great infusion of marketing input to that growth, and we can count many success stories in the Western world where the transformation of the company or the complete makeover of the company and the way consumers perceive it have been driven by marketing. I'd like to know if there are some very similar experiences you had in Cisco, and how has the transformation happened? What's been the marketing-led growth, if you will, for the brand?
Thank you so much, Monish. I think that's quite an arduous task to summarize a journey of 30 years within 3 minutes, I think. But I'll give my best shot to it, because I'm personally very proud about the fact that the brand has come so far, and it's not even a decade-old brand, but the kind of aura, the persona it has created, it gives you that feeling, So when I say 30 years, but 10 years younger, what I'm hinting at is the fact that the journey started, in the late 70s for us, when we were trading partners for a lot of brands. Basically, the company is SSK Group. And that's where we were trading, the audio cassettes. In fact, we also were in the trading business for a lot of white good appliances, including some of those, big names like Calvinator, and then mobile phones like Nokia, Samsung. And as we speak today, it's LG and higher. So I think with that, a journey of getting into the trading business, what we achieved was a huge, extensive and an intensive distribution network, which is the key of the business that I belong to as a brand, right? Across the country, the brand is available. So I think that was the very, fundamental thing that was required for us to look at, as a business, prerequisite rather, before we gave birth to the very own brand Cisco. Now, when you look at Cisco, I think today it has become quite a synonymous to even the category. The moment you say LED, it becomes Cisco, or Cisco, you say LED. I think that is what you were hinting at. I think it is such a beautiful law of association that we have achieved, which is again adding a lot of equity from both the customer as well as the stakeholder side today, right? And I think for that, because you spoke about marketing, I think it was a very conscious attempt, on behalf of the brand to actually go out and support the category, and not to just keep on asking people to buy Cisco at stage 1. Because if you see all my, historical communication pieces, we always requested and educated people about as to how you need to buy LED. We never spoke about that, please buy Cisco bulb, right? Because that's very product-driven conversation. But we supported the entire category because that's where the thought leadership came to the brand, that, we were educating masses for almost more than 5 to 6 years back to back. And today, as we speak, more than happy to say that it's not a brand which is only catering the LED products to the masses in the country, but we are also looking at various other categories that we are present in, right from your wires and cables, fans and mobile accessories, personal care appliances, smart home products, so much to offer to this audience. And finally, I think at the core of whatever we do, I think there is a great piece of technology. So whether I'm selling X, Y, or Z, at the core of it, there is an awesome technology that is actually getting used to create those awesome product and experiences for you as a customer.
I haven't yet forgotten the amazing ad of Cisco with Irfan in it. That was a brilliant one. I think it left a good taste for a very long time. As I move to Kunal now, I'm sure Kunal has already taken a note of the fact that Mr. Junjunwala has put in his money in your company. And as I move over to him, I'm saying that, what a run it's been in the last 1.5 years for, folks who have never been in the stock market. So many people have, it's like literally reminds me of, marathon with so many people running into it. Obviously, you have taken full advantage of that, Kunal, at Upstock. So we are keen to know what have been your growth hacks, and that too from a marketing lens. You're on mute, my friend.
Yeah, I was listening very patiently to everybody. So, hey, thanks, Manish, for the question, and hi, fellow panelists. Good afternoon. So to answer your question, I'll start off by talking a little bit about marketing and how marketing itself is both an assailant and a victim of its own creation. For example, we love to coin these buzzwords in board meetings, and growth hacking is one of that, and then eventually it kills us. But taking cognizant of the question, look, here at Upstocks, we keep it very simple, especially marketing. We've kept it very, very simple. The key here is to put your ear down on the railway tracks and hear what your customers are saying, where they are and what they want. As you very rightly said, about 1.5 years ago, nobody even knew this category existed, much less the brand. So rather than pumping something down people's throat, we listen to what they want. And why is there a barrier of coming on to these new financial instruments? Which is where we came up with a beautiful mix of traditional and non-traditional marketing medias, wherein we use them as to their maximum potency. For example, so nothing beats television when you want to create awareness. Nothing beats digital when you want to create reminder mediums or call to actions. So we made sure that we were taking each medium to its core benefit and exploring it to its fullest. That, along with the fact with, I think, about 190% effort on retention as well as user experience. I think those are the three things that we really focused on, And of course, like, most of the panelists are talking about, and especially, I was listening very keenly to Akhil, that, we are also expanding in various other languages. And we are right now an English first app, but that's one of the things that we are also very cognizant on. So fingers crossed, let's say.
Very, very interesting one there on the language side, Kunal. Taking a cue from that, I'm just going to go back to Akhil. You see, we all have been seeing the regular segmentation, and in your business, the regular segmentation is, which caste or which location or which language. But you've also taken a different segment. You've got the elite matrimony, you've got IIT, IIM matrimony, and so on and so forth. So how do these multi-segment approaches, how do they coexist? And how do you benefit from them? And how do you deal with overlaps, especially from a marketing perspective?
So if you look at our company endeavor is to empower all segment of our target audiences. And if you look at marriage or matchmaking category, it's a very personal and very crucial subject, as someone is choosing the life partner, which is the most important decision of anyone's life. So if you look at, and when it comes to the that kind of decision, they are very particular about their needs, their wants, and all that. And our learning has been that every segment has their own needs and their preferences. We need to have a different offering for them. Like, for example, we have elite matrimony. which caters only to your HNI, celebrity, and all the upper crust of the society, because they have certain needs when it comes to the matchmaking. We also have something called doctor's matrimony. So everyone knows that people wants to marry a doctor want to marry only doctor, because they only can understand their lifestyle. If they marry a lawyer, then the chances of marriage failing is much higher. So that's what we have learned, that every certain segment, or we call it certain community, has their own requirement. We also have something called defense matrimony, because people want to marry someone who works in similar things. So defense matrimony also exists. And response to this matrimony, these website is tremendous. We have seen that people, actually doctors and all, has been a really big success. We see hundreds of doctors registering every day on this because the need was there, and we are catering to those needs. So if you look at our next set of growth is actually fueled by these kind of services, trying to reach in each and every community, each and every segment of the population, and give them that customized service to them. And that has been our approach, and we are seeing great growth with that. And we believe that right segmentation with a curated service would work wonder for any brand or any category.
No, that's absolutely
Okay.
brilliant.
You know that, because of this entire so sharp segmentations, you are the reason of why out of the box career seekers are single today, right?
Yeah.
No, but Kunal, I just wanted to, sort of take a reference to what you said, and maybe Anupam, just in the light of what you said, I was just going to say that, Akhil, I agree to everything you say, and this is obviously the most important decision, unless the user on Matrimony app has upstocks also, and there's suddenly a non-traditional pop-up that comes that, hey, this is a tip, and you automatically move away from the app and your life's priority changes.
I was gonna say the second place they need to go to after matrimony is upstocks, because once you've got the life partner, start planning your finances.
Yeah, true.
I think in between those two, you forgot fashion, lenses for the shadi, and
That comes before you go to
glasses. And for the event.
Correct.
And
lighting, so Cisco comes.
Yes.
You can already see that there is a lot of meaningful bonhomie here. But if I just take the three digital businesses or digital first businesses away on this panel, and if I go back to Amit from Cisco, this is probably one business that really got hit by COVID, or so I think, amongst the four of you. What I wanted to delve upon is, Amit, did you take any specific marketing strategies during the prevalence or the intense prevalence of the pandemic? And, how did those measures help you bounce back if there were impacts caused by the pandemic? We'd like to learn more of those experiences from you, Amit.
So, Munish, I think it was not only from the marketing perspective that we, decided to remain, as one of the most friendly brand in the category for the customers, but it was a very holistic approach, because as I said, at the core of it lies the technology, lies a great product. And I think from there it begins, right? But because, you spoke about, say, the pandemic, which started last year onwards, and still we are kind of facing, the after effects of that process. The first and the foremost thing was to remain completely agile, because we were watching as to what all government mandates were coming out every week, every month, depending upon which market, etc. And that is where we realized that, we had the opportunity to completely optimize the distribution, because I spoke about the distribution network that is very important in this category, right? So the government mandate came wherein they mentioned that personal care appliances are counted as semi-essentials in the country, because yes, people are staying back at home, and still while they are at home, they are connected with each other for personal and professional reasons. And that is where they wanted to, look groomed maybe. And I think that is where the government mandate came, and we optimized the distribution channel. And with that, what we did was we actually placed the product across all the medical shops, in fact, because at that point in time, only medical and kirana shops were operational. Apart from these two, nothing was actually working, right? So that was the first thing that we did. Apart from that, when you look at marketing, I think It was not about, you are still trying to sell something. It was about that, okay, fine, listen, I'm a friend of yours and I'm going to help you. Example would be, again, I'll go back to personal care, right? Because we all have these amazing appliances at home, but seldom we know how to use them the right way, because maybe beyond a function or a two, you don't know how to use it, I think. And that's where we came forward and said, okay, fine, we will help you to remain groomed with whatever little things that you have at home, right? And manage the show. And I think that's where a lot of content marketing played a crucial role for the audiences. Apart from that, I think what happens, there is always, a bright line that you need to look at and say, okay, fine, can we make this better for us, I guess. I'm hinting at the application of smart home and IoT products, because yes, they are costly, but as the world was going contactless in terms of payment and delivery and shopping, why not lighting, in fact, so I think that's where we saw the whole uptake of smart home products. So because people were, being at home, they wanted convenience and comfort both. And apart from that, yes, safety was at their, top of mind, bucket list. So I think that's where, we saw a lot of movement happening suddenly. And finally, because, we are an FMEG, brand, fast moving electrical goods, we decided to quickly tap the very gap, which was basically about offering a smart wearable, but at a very entry price point, because suddenly your smartwatch watch was no more a fashion product. It was basically that everybody was looking at, because they were worrying about their health and fitness, etc., right? So we launched this product in fact last year, and it saw huge success. So I think it was a complete 360-degree sort of a change for us in order to sail through this entire turbulence safely.
Right. Thank you. Thanks on that count, Amit. Anupam, I think, some wonderful stories that we have heard in terms of the contribution of marketing to, Cisco during the COVID time. If I just take some inputs from you now on Lenskarts experience, have there been any marketing induced features that you help get onto the app, which then you were able to correlate as a marketer to say that, yes, the buyer behavior has changed and there has been a greater propensity to for conversions, if you will. And I'm myself a user of Lenskart apps. I know many of those features myself. So maybe for me, this is a kind of quiz of sorts where I'm saying, Anupam, can you just help me understand which of those one or two features were very marketing induced, not necessarily coming from any other quarter of your business, that's really giving through inputs for app improvisation?
In my mind, I would rather flip what you asked. It's more about at Lenskart, and I'm sure with others also, it's more about customer obsession, from where you derive the consumer insights and then you plan your marketing. It's not the other way around. You cannot plan your marketing and say, okay, I'll let the consumer behave or interact on the app in a certain way. You need to do it the other way around. In terms of features, so we kind of started a digital revolution in specs or spectacles buying in India. And then with time, with those consumer insights, there have been so many changes, which I'll, of course, half an hour, 1 hour is too less to talk about that. But it's coming to your specific questions, we regularly, just to point out weekly, see how the consumers are behaving, not only at pan India state, but even at pin code level. How are they behaving on the app? So for me, in my mind, we're an omni-channel platform, omni-channel brand. So app is not a gateway to the e-commerce. App is a gateway to the brand. It's to Lenskart. What we have seen is there's a feature called AR on which we have invested a lot, which helps the user basically analyzes your face and it recommends the best styles for you across with filters and all the features that you have. And we have seen 70% of people who actually use AR end up at the store, because the category is such that most of the people really want to wear your specs and see it's fitting on the temple or not, is fitting on my nose or not, is it bigger or smaller, sizes, and so on and so forth. So we started with 3D try-on earlier, like almost 4 or 5 years back. Now just moved to augmented reality on the app. I'm sure you guys and the people who are listening should try that. It's so smooth that you don't even need to move your face. You can try glasses. Similarly, we have started, something called HTO, majorly, which is home try on, which primarily started during before COVID because, for obvious reasons, where, there are elders or people who cannot really move out of the house. You can just simply call a number. You can discuss, give your preferences, give your power. You can get your eye test done at home, just everything on the app. And one guy with 150 glasses will come to your home. And if you like it, you can take it. You get your eye test if it's correct or not. And there are so many other features, which are all driven down from only one point, which is customer obsession. Similarly, there is assisted for people who are not really savvy with digital. There are a lot of people who are not really comfortable even today, going on Amazon and buying it. Till they are not using their credit card, they are okay. The moment they need to, connect their banking, there's a discomfort. Beyond top 30, 40 stages, whatever. For them, there's a simple call number, which is again there on the app, and that guy will help you out with the entire process. And you have to understand in my category, which primarily powered glasses, is a very difficult product to explain on phone. There's myopic, there's progressive, and there are different numbers of power. So yeah, app is a gateway to the brand omni-channel Lenskart.
Right, and what's the role TV has played in terms of carrying your brand message out?
I would say TV has played the most important role. Even today, with all the discussions happening that this is dying, this is growing, and this is the next big thing. What we've seen today, the moment we stop TV, and I'm talking about basic campaigns also, the moment we stop TV, we see a downfall in traffic, app installs, conversations, social media interactions, and of course the revenue follows. And even calls for that matter. If today I stop TV, my assisted call numbers drops by 10% in just a week. And as somebody was mentioning that there's no better media today, even today. Having said that, there's no competition. People take it as competition. See, if you're talking about TV, then you hate digital. If you're talking about digital, then you hate TV. It's not like that. Maybe a planner may talk like that, but for a brand, it doesn't really matter. And for opening new markets, getting people to move from awareness to consideration or to purchase intent, TV is a media you really can't afford to miss, even today in India. Though the way you plan media on TV will certainly change, it cannot be really just FCT and presence. You have to do a good combination of presence with integrations and contextual programming, whatever. But without TV, I don't see a brand making it big in India still, even as on date with whatever 80% penetration of digital. Of course, it works in the mid funnel and lower funnel, and even a top funnel when it comes to larger YouTube and brand campaigns. But without TV, doesn't really work. And I've learned my lesson the easier way, harder way, multiple trials and errors. And I see here the gentleman shaking his head. He totally agrees with me. He would also experience the same. And I think we all have the entire surge of OTT and the premium audience watching TV moving to OTT. But in that entire discussion, we forget that the premium audience who has actually moved to OTT is a paid user, and your OTT campaign is actually he's not seeing the campaign. So the only way is integrations. So, those are nitty-gritties, but without TV, for us, still not working out.
No, and I think it is truly the same for, most lasting brands. And I was just talking about the Cisco ad of Irfan some time back. That was quite some time ago, but the recollection factor has been there, right? You made some very good references to features, Anupam. I just want to carry on that feature conversation on to Kunal with all the, apply for IPO via WhatsApp and, those kind of new things coming in, making it more exciting, making it more easy. So how can you as a marketer help us build the knit between growth and convenience, from growth for you and convenience for the user? And what's the correlation? What marketing strategies you've taken into consideration while building that correlation, and how has it benefited your brand?
Look, for us, the numbers speak themselves, the data that we look at. I'm currently sitting at about 7.5 million users, and about 80% of those guys are millennials, right? Now, when we talk about millennials, those are the most digitally. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they said there are 3 categories of people in the world. One who never had technology and still grappling with it. The others, I think I'm assuming like us, who were growing up with zero technology, but then it came to us while we were growing up, and we are kind of adapting our lives around it. And then there's a third generation which grew up with a click. From the first toy, and I still remember my first toy was a Leo Mattel MR15 gun. My nephew's first toy was a mobile phone where he watches his stuff. So that's the audience that's coming onto my platform. Now, both in terms of growth as well as marketing, as well as retention, as well as making it we pride ourselves in a company which is always innovating, always listening, and always innovating. So the WhatsApp thing, I mean, for example, look, it's all about making these markets accessible, easy to get into, as well as remove that massive stigma or the fear that people have कि यार stocks में कैसे जाएंगे. See, 2 basic insights happen, right? One is, let's take IPOs for example. So either you don't know anything about IPOs and you don't care, or you know about IPOs, you really want to apply for those because you understand the benefit at some level, but then you don't know what to do with it or where to go about doing it. Now, either you download an app like ours, or an app like ours will give you an option that, look, you already have WhatsApp, right? So why don't you just go ahead and do it with that? Let us facilitate that journey of yours. Once you come into the fold, we design our app in such a way that it helps the guy who's coming in for the first time. There are 2 tips and tricks, and then there is a lot of hand holding that we do, so that enabling this guy who's a complete noob to become a good trader. And especially when you're dealing with millennials, you have to be very careful because their mindset is growing at a much rapid pace than what you can fathom. So you need to constantly innovate.
Absolutely. Again, getting back to the effective sort of use of television as a means of conveyancing the brand, whether it's a new brand or whether it's an existing brand, so on and so forth. I think the longest, and it will only be fair to go back to Amit on this, say, could you please share with us some of your, not just learnings, but in this case, practices that you have benefited from and practices that all of us here and the audience can benefit from. So learnings and good practices to be heard from you, Amit.
Sure, Monish. So basically, I think as you mentioned, that you still remember Irfan Khan ad of Cisco brand. I think that's a big validation, about the fact that yes, as a brand, I'm able to reach you and convince you with a strong narrative. I think that is why, because that is why you are able to remember that even if I have removed that spot from the radar, right? So I think that is what we have realized, that in this whole process, that we have used television extensively to reach out to masses, because Cisco realized the sweet spot of giving the LED solution in the retail space when no brand was actually very active. So while LED technology was around, but it was focusing mainly on the B2B application. So Cisco is one of the very first and the foremost brand which said, okay, fine, let's tap this potential and ensure that Cisco is a very retail facing brand, when it comes to the LED business. And for that, obviously, we used a lot of television and we roped in, the brand ambassador. The narrative was decided basis a strong customer insight of money saving, because I think that strongly resonates with the Indian customers, right? So even while, my product is maybe a little costly, say 10-20% because it is LED, but the saving part is something that people really, give your ears to, saying that, okay, fine, I understand what you're saying. So I think that is what we have been using strongly. Learning is that I think we have used television, to dish out the communication, which was always brand led. What I mean with that is that, it always spoke about warranty and energy saving and money saving, etc. aspects. But when we looked at digital example, medium, we ensured that, my communication is giving you a lot of engagement opportunities, a lot of product driven communication, etc. Because I can't use that in television, based on the nuances it has, right, in terms of cost and planning. So I think that's where we have really moved on, and we ensured that we figure out some marquee properties, which have like a very strong, reminding mechanism. So example, laptop branding was very huge when we figured out the space for the very first time, with the broadcasters, integrating the brand with the famous GEC programs within the country, and also known for being very heavy on the news genre, because I think that attracts both the kind of communities as far as my business is concerned, distribution partners as well as customers. So I think these are some of those learnings I can share, immediately, with the group right now.
Brilliant. In fact, I just at this stage, I'm tempted to toss up a question, and I'd like all four of you to sort of give your take on this. Especially in the last 2 or 3 years, we have seen a sea change in the pace of digitization. Everything has become agile around us. Business models are changing, at breakneck speed. And all of us here are marketeers. We are watching this happen live around us at, an unimaginable pace. And I think, we are all responsible and accountable to help the marketing function achieve a greater speed than at which our businesses are getting disrupted. The question that comes up in this context is, is the tail wagging the dog, or are we in the driver's seat? What I mean by that is the pace of business disruption demanding that kind of service from the marketeers to do justice to that disruption, or do the marketeers have sufficient foresight to say, okay, here is the disruption coming, heading at us, and this is how I'm going to shape the strategy of the company from a marketing perspective? I'm really keen to hear perspectives from each one of you, and I'm not going to call out an order. Fastest finger first.
Cool, I'll jump in. So, look, there are two kinds of disruptions that we're talking about. One are something that not just marketers, but even the human beings can't fathom. So, for example, the pandemic. And the good thing is that the world over, and not just India, marketers and companies suddenly realized, and the big ones as well, I'm not talking just about the startups, the big ones as well, realize that when push comes to shove, they can become very agile. When people are sitting at home and nobody's going out, deliveries, the way of deliveries of every single product took a market turn, and everybody kind of started, focusing their energies on, okay, how do we bring our product to the customer in the current scenario? Second, when we talk about, let's say, the other kind of disruptions, for example, technology disruptions. Look, I might have a contrary point of view, and the other fellow panelists might murder me, but my point of view is very simple, right? Especially the Indian market. I've been a firm believer that if you want to do business in India, you got to go to the masses, right? You have to go down to tier 2, tier 3, and no matter what your product is. I mean, back when we were kids, we used to hear these stories about this one village in Punjab which has the maximum Mercedes-Benz in the world, right? Now, they were not reading Business Standard, they were not watching CNBC, right? So and that segment is very slow to adapt to massive technological upheavals. Therefore, as marketers, I think the key is to understand your product from every angle possible, prepare for the worst, but deliver the best that you can to those customer segments that are there in a particular segment that are consuming you. Of course, changes will happen. I mean, I just take 10 seconds more. Back in the day, I was in advertising, and we were managing a premium chocolate brand, and that was the time when Facebook came in. This is 2011-12 I'm talking about. And the only way that I thought that we could have used Facebook was to make communities of mommies, because we can't market to kids. From there on to what Facebook is now and what we use it for. And now I'm putting my hand up and saying that, okay, it's in its decline phase unless Mark does something truly disruptive. But look at what has happened. So it's always going to be a gradual response to change, because not the entire market suddenly doesn't shift. Until, of course, the pandemic happens. Now, that's a different thing altogether.
Great insights there. Who's going next?
So, if you look, see, my take on this is that disruptions are difficult to foresee, but you need to have your strategy or your team as agile to take on any disruption. Usually disruptions are seen as a negative connotation, but I think the disruptions are important for any market or any this thing, because we have a lot to learn from these disruptions. Be it your the taxi, how Ola has disrupted the entire market. So we have learned a lot out of that. Then be it your Upstock, another disruption, what we have seen. So I think, disruptions are interesting. It gives us a lot of learning. It changes the way we have been seeing consumer. So that's my take on this.
Okay, I'll go next. So I think I more or less, agree with Kunal. There are two kinds of disruptions. One, you can of course see the changes of, say, user behavior, media consumption, all the basics that we have done all our lives. There are others which you certainly can't, like the pandemic. We all are still guessing if what Omicron will do if it really hits us. And I'm sure at least none of us are ready. Of course, we are preparing and we're thinking of ways to reach out and deliver and service our customers, but we really don't know at what length it will come out. So we don't know. So there, of course, we would be the tail, as you asked. But in a lot of other scenarios, I think marketers, and not only marketers, that's a very unfair thing to say. I mean, because any organization, any brand is actually a combination of marketer, the tech support. At least for us, tech is so important, across the funnel, be it online or offline. And of course, the entire analytics team and the strategy team. Those you can certainly gauge to a certain level, and you can prepare yourself for that. And because it's a marketing platform, then I would say you can actually optimize or drive your marketing towards the changing behavior or that disruption, which is which you can guess or foresee to a certain extent. So yeah, that would be my take on that.
Fantastic. So Amit, you have the chance for the final word.
So I completely agree with what everybody spoke about, that ultimately the fact is that as a marketer, we have to create markets, whether disruptions come or they don't come, or with what pace they come and hit you. I think we have to create that opportunity for the brand and the business as well. My only point is that I think with this disruption, what we have encountered, I guess, there's a lot of, organic acceptance within the organizations for a function, which is obviously marketing, which was looked at from a revenue point of view to something now which is beyond revenue now. I think the role of marketeer has really been, now it is more important now because we are driving business in the new environment. And things have changed. I completely agree with everybody, but where it is going to normalize, I don't know if that's going to happen or which direction it will set in the new tone. So I think, and with that, the second thing that we are looking at is a lot of agility. I think coming from a retail and a distribution brand, I don't know how many of you guys will remember, there was this whole fundamental of 70-20-10 in terms of marketing budget. 70 TV mein dal do, 20 digital dal do, or 10% ka BTL kar do. It was the language, fundamentally. I'm so glad that finally we are able to come out of this 70-20-10 rule, finally. So I think that's where a lot of opportunity is going to come, even as we look at a bright future, as I said, to remain light years ahead. So yeah, that's my take.
Fantastic. So I think, sorry, do I have a comment from another fellow panelist here? Okay. So I think as we get down to the last 5 minutes of this brilliant conversation, just staying on that topic of agility, and most of us have seen different types of TV commercials and the kind of changes even that space has, witnessed over the years. Does that agility put more weight or more demand on the creative side as we get to shorter, punchier, more impactful, advertising. And what's been your individual experiences in terms of the pros and cons and the impact that has had?
To me, I think, of course, we have moved, a lot of brands have moved to more shorter, more crispier, way of communication in terms of be it creative or video TVCs. But I don't think, the entire, obsession, or I'm being a negative word, I would say the entire strategies of actually establishing the story through, larger edits is not dead yet. I think it's more of better media mix which is happening right now. Like for example, just in my previous stint when I was leading on mutual fund Sahi Hai from the agency side, we used to use edits of even 1 minute. On TV, of course, you cannot. I mean, you can, of course, but with all the pressures coming in of ROI and everybody looking of returns and revenue and whatever KPIs and objectives are, the propensity to put larger edits on TV as a media, because of course the ticket size much higher and the investment is much larger, you tend to work better on the media mix, establish the story, and then move ahead to shape shorter edits of whatever 2015 or then whatever works for you as a brand. But I don't know, out of 100 there would be only 2 brands, 98 of them make noise, or people remember the brand because they have communicated something beautiful, or they have established a certain story or communication or thought process they wanted to. So I think that's what I think.
If you look at our category, storytelling is the most important thing, because we have a very intangible product. We don't sell any product. So for people to take on our on board, like taking that step, and even our category online matchmaking is also not evolved much yet. Like even only 10% of the marriageable population actually comes to online platform. So for us, telling a crucial story is very, very important. And if you look at, we are heavily dependent on the TV. Our maximum budget goes behind TV because we have seen that's working for us. Now, as Anupam was telling that there is a limitation of the second stages, what you could put on TV. So now there is a lot of pressure on a creative team to tell an interesting story within a lesser second ages. Yeah. If you're only digital, yes, you could do a lot of like 1 minute or even 90 second if you could do it on digital. But when you're heavily dependent on the TV, the cruciality of your creative becomes very important. Like if you look at the last 4, and we are very cognizant of that. And in last 5 to 6 years, we have done a lot of amazing work. In fact, we have even won few awards for our creative this thing. So yeah, creative is very, very important. Either you can tell a story or you can make a noise. You have to decide. If you put only 10 seconds without any story, you're just making noise on the TV. But if you're really telling people, you're taking people on board.
Yeah, thank you there. Just a quick comment each from Kunal and Amit, and we'll just get to a wrap.
Go for it, Amit.
So I think I completely agree, here as well with the panelists that yes, there is a huge pressure on the creative team, because the fact is again that the attention span is continuously decreasing. So yes, we need to look at the lingo of seconds and not minutes for whatever reasons, I think. But yes, at the core of it has to be a strong narrative. Otherwise, even if I spend a lot of money without a strong narrative at the core of it, I don't think people will remember what they see on television. Because today, I think it's still, while it is reaching out to a lot of masses, but it is still a little cluttered medium, right? Because everybody is using that medium for mass reach. So I think, yes, even I look at the metrics of seconds when you are judging your story.
Okay, Kunal.
Yeah, look, like I said, I'm one of those old school romantics who truly believes that a brand is a human being. So it needs to have a personality, a story, a backstory, a front story, where it's going, and so on and so forth. So therefore, that's there. And I think agencies, especially advertising agencies, the reason why we hire them is looking at the skill set that they have of telling me a story in 10 seconds. Otherwise, what's the point? Because then you just hire PR agencies who write a nice 3 paragraphs about who you mean. So I think it's a part and parcel of everyday life, where both from the agency side and as marketers, we are kind of attuned to the fact that, look, I cannot have 30 seconds going on and on and on. I'm not even talking of 1 minute. I think 1 minute is, I think the moment you get funding, I think for the first 2 weeks, you get 1 minute and that's it. Even 30 seconds is a massive investment. So that's the key, right? I mean, it's how you evaluate your creative partner, wherein he can hold up his hand and say, look, in 10 seconds, buddy, I will tell the world your story. And if he does that, and if it works for you, that's it. That's the holy grail.
Yeah.
And just to add to that, it doesn't mean that just because you put a 1 minute on TV, doesn't mean the audience will actually engage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Manish, can I step in? I have a couple of questions.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So basically, what we are saying is that in terms of telling the story, building up on the story, what are the challenges you are facing on television, and what are the solutions you are finding? Especially, is inventory available easily, or is there a less of inventory? Is too much demand chasing inventory?
Well, it depends. I
For
mean,
me, I don't think. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. No, sorry. Go
I'm
ahead.
thinking it all depends. See, inventory is a very broad word. I think it all depends on who you're talking to. So let me just say, case in point, IPL. I think which is relevant for every brand that is out there, right? Now, of course, there is the early bird takes the warm wide approach as well. A lot of brands do. And look, it's from an inventory perspective, it's like a hotel, right? The rooms are getting sold out. They have to sell out all the rooms. So as in when the time, it's basically it's inversely proportional, right? The time towards an event is inversely proportional with the money that they're going to ask for it or charge for it. So that's the thing. The thing with television, I think the biggest challenge, which I think with the coming of your connected televisions and digital televisions, is the direct measurability of or direct efficacy of your messaging, which was missing. Look, awareness is a metric, yes, and that is something that is very helpful to us. But more and more boards are now asking marketers, ki, "Arey, ye ad chalaya, how much have you sold?" Which marketing can never do, but still, that's the question. So that efficacy measurement, which is now coming in with the smart TVs, is something that is highly desirable.
Yeah, but the smart TV population is limited, 12 million, 15 million max.
So it will grow, right?
Yeah. So I'm saying so far, what are the solutions you're finding around, because you have your ratings, BARC ratings, etc., which give you an indicator. So where I'm coming from is each of you, what are the challenges you're facing? And what
so
are
one of the challenge, I'll tell you, one of the challenge what we are facing is that there's too much of fragmentation. There are too many channels for you to reach the audiences. Like if you look at our category, the total addressable market itself is very small. Like only people who want to get married, and then you're trying to reach them at the various things. So what we have done is that already we have more than 4 million users on our platform. So what we do is every regular interval, like every 2-3 months, we conduct a survey on the similar people, because we are targeting similar kind of people. We want to find same kind of people. So we conduct a regular survey to understand their viewing habits, what they're watching, where they're watching, what are the timings. So we can do sharper placement of our ads, which will give us a better result. Is that what one thing is like immediately coming into my mind? Like, for example, the music is almost gone. Like, so music genre, we used to advertise earlier, but after the survey, what we have found that the music, like hardly anyone is watching, because thanks to all the apps, music app which has come in. So we stopped advertising on music. So we have saved that money and invested at the better program.
So what has emerged for you all as a category? Is it news? Is it GECs? Because I don't, or is it regional language?
I can talk about myself. I think for me, the challenge, of course, is there of longer variation and all, but I think it's more about optimizing the plan, optimizing the entire media mix, not only TV. Now, for example, what we are doing recently in the last 6 to 8 months, primarily we have moved from just FCT to a lot of integrations, a lot of content integration. I'm talking about TV, not digital listicles and all, which has really helped us. And of course, as Kunal mentioned, the direct attribution is a real problem when it comes to TV. And that question of, if a dhanda kitna hai, you can't really answer directly, because there's no link, there's no UTM link on Star Plus that you can actually define that, okay, this was add to cart and this was delivered. But then you have to measure the numbers as per your, if I say go as down as GRPs, And I don't think genres are dead. And of course, English audience, English viewing audience, English channels are declined to a great extent. But for example, for me as a brand, music works. Music, news, GEC. I mean, you build your reach from GEC and news, and then you build on the frequency with news and music and other channels. So I think the media mix has to actually solve that problem, and which is kind of solving for us.
Amit?
So, Anil, for us, I think it has been very fundamental, I would say, because we are known for consuming a lot of television. But whenever we launch the campaigns, right, for whichever category, segment, brand, I think the first and the foremost reflection is your brand awareness index that we always look at and figure out, okay, as to how your campaign is doing, right? So while we cannot measure to the T the benefit or the efficacy of the plan, but there is always a bankable reflection that comes to you from the basic research, right? So that is what we use. I think the bigger challenge that I face here is about, and I'm not saying that it's going to directly compete with the digital way of approaching the customer, like the way we define TV, like example, HSM. I think it's a very favorite word in the television industry, HSM. Now imagine HSM is such a huge market. Now you want to target, say, a specific territory or a geography. I think that's where I think there is a challenge that, okay, how can I make my segmentation sharper within even say the HSM category? Because while you have Telugu, Tamil, and Odia and Bengali, it's kind of pretty defined. But HSM, I think needs a little bit of more, slicing and dicing. I think so. I think that's where the challenge I face. Fundamentally.
Okay, so I'm going to ask one last question. I saw Kunal checking his watch, maybe he has another appointment. But Kunal, in terms of you being a digital first kind of a brand, you use television very aggressively. I've seen that to grow. So is it a great brand will it reach a particular scale before you use television, or you actually grew through television?
Look, television, to my mind, is the most effective medium out there if you're a new brand and you can afford to be on it, because it gives you a mass reach, which everybody knows. It also gives you Insta credibility. And
yes,
in our category, that credibility is the currency that is the most used, because so therefore for me it was television first, and then retention and reminder medium was digital.
Okay, so television actually helped you grow as a brand and help you attract, keep your customer acquisition, your CACs at reasonable rates.
Absolutely. And also I think just taking a cue from the other panelists, very intelligent media mix that we put on television. So we didn't go whole hog everywhere. We were very specific. Okay, this is what you want to do, both when it came to live television, when it came to spot buying, when it came to integrations. You're absolutely crystal clear what you wanted to do to get Upstocks as a brand out there, and that then had a percolating effect, and then we got the
price is never a constraint for any of your price of the inventory. Or is
that
it
is.
will you marry buying price versus ROI? Of course, that's always there, but you will pay a premium in case you get you get your credibility, you get all those other parameters which you're looking at, different KPIs each one has. For instance, your trade getting demand. For instance, for Cisco, it will be if you do a national campaign for a new brand, your trade keeps calling for it. So all of you can get into this. Then I'll leave it to Manish. Yeah, who wants to take it up?
In my case, I don't think the trade keeps calling. It would be more from a Cisco point of view, I would say.
But you also in mom and pop. You also in rock. What do you call them? Brick and mortar stores.
Brick and store. Yeah.
So therefore,
but I don't think that's the pressure. I don't think that's the pressure. That's the or at least that's not the pressure that trade brings in. That's I think is a part of the KRA for one of us, and the trade shouldn't be fighting for that. But I think see, I mean, as we whenever we talk about TV, we say India is divided into 6 parts. Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam. There is HSM, and then there are bits of Marathi and Gujarati. But I think we have to stop looking at this as a competition from digital. For the consumer is not consuming media in silos, and we need to stop planning media from that point of view. It has to be a proper, perfect media mix for the kind of audience you want to reach, what do you want to communicate, and what is the objective you're looking at. To me, I think that was the
but digital is so much more fragmented compared to television. think about it. I mean, your trade may not be looking at digital.
And then it's also a factor of what your long-term and short-term strategy / vision is actually. Like for me, my vision for Upstocks is that we become the same as Xerox. That the moment, you don't go to photocopy, you go to Xerox, right? So similarly.
Actually, you got an OX in your name.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So look, it's that. And also look, traditionally, and I completely agree with you. Let's say, for example, when I'm talking about white goods, right? There is a lot of demand that comes from traders about doing a Diwali campaign, so on and so forth. So it all depends upon the product life cycle, the brand life cycle, and especially the vision, where you want to be. So for us, we went TV first is because we were in a market which people didn't even know the market existed. So our job was, first of all, not to sell Upstocks, but to sell the category. And no better way to do that than television, or print for that matter, because these are the only two mediums that offer a brand the maximum credibility. And then, of course, see, digital plays its part, and it's a great for a marketer. But you need to know its DNA to actually have it optimized for you.
Exactly. So, but in the case of Lenskart, from digital, they've gone on to brick and mortar. In the case of Ciscos, they've always been in with the trade pressures. So, there are different ways of, Lenskart, for instance, if I were Lenskart and I wanted to build my brick and mortar with pressure from my private equity investors to build a bigger value story, I would push those more through TV campaigns, because that's what gets me.
All right. So that's exactly what I'm saying about, we keep saying TV versus digital. That's not the case. For me, 70% of audiences who come to my app and try AR actually end up at the store. So, you need to take care of the entire funnel. TV works the best at top 2 funnels, and digital works the best at the lower and the mid funnel to an extent. And you need to use it effectively to make sure you're communicating and you're hand-holding the consumer to the entire journey. So instead of looking at
get into languageization of Lenskart, a lot of languageization.
Yes, and we have that's not an easy task for an app. I'm sure. Akhil and Kunal would agree more here, because they are more on the app front. That's not an easy task, and in today's world, you cannot really just use a simple translation and do it. There's a lot of copy and there's a lot of the back end and everything.
So therefore, TV works phenomenally better, whereas English on the internet is a limiting factor, especially if you have to get into Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, so that you actually get demand.
So you can use English for your communication point of view. What's stopping you? For example, if you're communicating on, say, Dina Malar or Malayalam Manorama, even on
you're
the
talking about print
platform.
and you're talking about, okay.
No, I'm talking about digital. Say Daily Hunt. If, for example, if say somebody is consuming Daily Hunt with 11 languages, and it's not that they can't read English, because as brands, when we advertise, we're not really using high-end Shashi Tharoor kind of English. We use English which is actually practical daily use. Whatever they use, so it doesn't really hamper us. Like, for example, even our TV ads, if you see our regional ads in all the 4 southern markets, most of our NCT is in English. It's not in their local languages, unless SEBI governs to AMFI that you have to have the declaration in the regional language. So I think the consumer has also grown with time. And we should rather give them credit for that also. I think the proper media mix is the answer. Yeah.
I got some sort of conversation around television versus just branding and marketing, which is what we wanted to achieve. So this.
So if the answer you're looking at, for me, without TV doesn't work. But if you say only TV, then also it won't work.
Yeah.
Okay, Monish, over to you. I've done my bit to veer the conversation to so putting the vision, the power of into the power of television, which is what these people have done effectively. Thank you. Over to you, Monish.
Thank you.
So
you can go ahead with it. Monish, you can go ahead with it. You're mute. Please unmute yourself. It's over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Anil. And I'd like to thank all my fellow panelists for a superb discussion. I think it was very enriching. Lots of learnings, lots of takeaways. Especially for me, it's been the story of simplification to gain volumes, using the right media, right channel to get your marketing story right, and validation of the fact that TV is and continues to remain one of the prime channels through which you could get your message across to your future customer population, and also reinforced the existing ones. On that note, I'd like to thank you all for your time today and truly enjoyed the conversation. Thanks to the audience for staying on.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you so much. Manish.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. That was quite an interesting session, actually. Well, that brings us to the end of TV Brand Fest 2021 Day 2. And once again, I would like to thank our co-powered by partner, Disney Star TV Network. The event is produced and executed by ITV 2.0 Productions. On behalf of IndianTelevision.com, I would like to thank all the speakers and viewers for taking out your time to join us today. We hope you had a fruitful time. Do share your feedback with us. Use the hashtag TV Brand Fest 2021 in your post and tag our official handles. We can be found at ITV News on Twitter and Facebook and IndianTelevision.com on Instagram and LinkedIn. We start the TV Brand Fest 2021 Day 3 sessions tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. onwards, and the session will be on content, fiction, and non-fiction. We look forward to e-host you tomorrow at 2:30. Thank you. Have a nice day.